Welcome back to the Basement Card Collector. I collect several things and I wanted to show the things to you. I love doing TTMs. I have several videos of those if you'd like to go back and look. I love player collecting and putting them in binders and putting them in order. I love building sets. I collect odd things like Sports Illustrated covers and Beckett magazines and starting lineups and Lego figures and just tons of things. And what I also have is a really kind of growing collection of old autobiographies or biographies about sport players from the past. I love reading those, especially in the summertime. And so I'm a teacher now for almost 20 years. And so in the scheme of things, from back to my beginning days to even current, we had schools realign and libraries switch, and they throw out old books and they discard old books. Well, I caught 3 schools doing just that in different times of my teaching career. And what I have is a really big collection of books about these players that I loved reading about as a kid. Now I have these books that are now on a big bookshelf, and I'd like to show, and I have read most of them, and I'd like to go back and just give a quick book report, if you will, and just some things that and again, these are written for kids, but so what I have here, I have 2 Mickey Mantle books that I just read not long ago. I mean, what a cool looking book. This book was written in 1966. And if you think about Mickey Mantle in 1966, I mean, he was about as big as you can imagine. You can see there's the big red stamp, discard. Well, and I picked it up. So I have just made some sticky notes. Now, when you think about Mickey Mantle, you think of 500 home run hitter, World Series champ, long, massive home runs, switch hitter, 1961, him and Roger Maris, and all of these smiles and all of these home runs, and he must have been the most loved player ever, which is kind of what I assume. Well, here's our author, Howard Liss. let me just kind of flip to what I have here for the sticky notes. There he is. There's our guy, 1966. Okay, so that's what I think about him. So if I'm just going to flip to a couple pages here I've marked out, I thought this was kind of cool. They basically signed him, it says $100,000 per year. Okay. If you look at this little blurb under this photo, here's Ralph Houck, the GM back then. He was getting $604 for each game, and that probably seemed like $1 billion. There's a picture of the contract. I mean, there's an autograph of Mickey Mantle on this contract, and I only can imagine back in 1950, 1960, $100,000. That's pretty crazy. But now here's what I did not know. Check out this photo. It has him on crutches and all of the years pointing to what he hurt. I have read about his injuries and things. So that's just kind of a cool chart to see what he played through and played with and still put up massive numbers. I thought this was a cool picture. On the top 3 photos, you got the big 3 Yankees, Roger Maris and his wife, Mickey and his wife, and Whitey Ford. So it's just kind of a neat photo. It looks like they're getting into town or maybe getting on a plane to, leave Yankee Stadium or New York City. Here's kind of a cool thing, 2000th game. But just some really cool photos. Joe DiMaggio, Willie Mays, Ted Williams. There's Dwight D. Eisenhower. But here's the kind of the big takeaway. It's just, he was a player like anybody else, but I mean, he's obviously a stud. And then you can see the old guy. Kids, you're thinking, what? Why did they stamp all over this? That's how we used to check out books back in the day, a stamp. Okay, and I had a second one. And the 3 stickies that I have here are really 3 kind of ahas. Now here's a young 18-year-old switch hitting Mickey Mantle. I look at the stats that he did in this season. 1950, so we're talking a super young 18-year-old playing against grown men, naturally. He hit 383, 199 hits, 26 bombs, and 136 ribbies as an 18-year-old shortstop for this Joplin team. He was the MVP, of course, as an 18-year-old, but that's kind of what got him onto these. But here's the part that's kind of shocking to me, and I just picked one little clip to. If he didn't hit a home run that was like 450 feet, check out that photo. Giving a big bat flip, which now today everybody flips the bat, but back this was more in disgust. Check out this sentence at the top. It says, still, Mickey was booed more than any other player in Major League history. And so reading the two books over the last week, just you don't think about that. When he came up, he was replacing Joe DiMaggio, which nobody liked. He was their favorite. He was the Derek Jeter of that time, and nobody wanted Joe to go. So here's this young kid who's supposed to do everything, hit home runs, do it both ways, and they didn't like that, so they booed him. They loved it when he hit the bombs, but could you imagine, like Aaron Judge today, if he doesn't hit a home run, no one boos him, you know, for you Yankee fans out there and history buffs. Like, you love those guys, and it was really shocking to see how much they said he was booed, and if he didn't hit a home run, it's just kind of strange to think about that today. You don't hear, you know, just think about, I mean, there's probably a couple boo birds in the stands at Yankee games, but Mickey Mantle, when I think about him, it's just good stories and this laugh, but he was injured for most of his career, it seems. But he still put up 500 home runs, and so the theme of the two books here were, man, could you imagine him if he were healthy for his career instead of being hurt all the time? He learned to switch hit. This was kind of a cool fact I learned. His dad threw right-handed. His dad was quite a player too, like a semi-pro player. His dad was right-handed, and he would throw to Mickey to make him bat one way, and Grandpa was a lefty, and Grandpa would throw so he could get some swings in on the other side of the plate. So I thought that was kind of that's how he became this switch-hitting powerhouse guy that we know. So those are my two Mickey books. Just children's books, but they're from 1966, this guy in 1972. So on my collection list, I have a huge list of books that I've read, and again, most of them are written for young kids, but it's perfect. That's what I started to read when I did start to read back in, like, you know, start to enjoy to read as a third grader, I think is when that started. So here are two Mickey Mantle books. I have several other books like this. I think I'm going to make a little series about these biographies and autobiographies as I go down my bookshelf. Just fun to do. It's fun reading for me in the summer, just quick little books like this. But here you go, Mickey Mantle, home run hitter, but he was often booed, like hardcore booed, which I think it just blows my mind. So there you go, Mickey Mantle, 1966 and 1972 little biography books, one written by Julian May and one written by Howard Liss. Great books, great person to read about, and I have several other books on Mickey also. But I enjoy reading these books. I enjoy collecting all kinds of things, even biographies and autobiographies of our favorite sports heroes from the past. This has been my first book report on Mickey Mantle, and I will see you next time.